See, hey, I'm still new
work
to
in
it.
progress. You know what I mean? We're not NBC or CNN. I will say
Right.
the layout looks freaking smooth, dude.
Cool.
That looks nice.
Appreciate it. I put a lot of work into it. I just hope that, like I said, it's like, you have a really, really good looking show that's bad content. Well, that's a problem. So I just hope the content, delivers. So, real quick before we get started, Mr. B, thank you for the follow. And he said he's
What's
here
up,
because
Mr.
of
B?
you.
What's
So,
up, man?
so before we get started into the show, I just want to say, happy late birthday to your dad. I saw,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I saw that, and your posts about him. Well, they're very touching. It's one of those things that, my dad's probably watching. Hi, Dad. But it's one of those things where it means a lot to me. When I see that and people taking care of their family, and so I just think that's awesome. So I just wanted to say that right off the top.
Yeah, thanks. He just turned 81 on May 2nd. And then yesterday was my niece's 8th birthday. So it was like, I actually said this on my stream just to touch on something in regards to, like, I was my niece's 8th birthday, and I was just thinking, like during her birthday, I was randomly just sitting there and I was like, man, she's 8 already. We only have a handful more summers, like, with her as a kid, like just thinking about time and stuff like that. And then I was like, wow, it's my dad's 81st birthday earlier this month. I just have a handful of summers with him too. It was kind of like a weird moment of like, damn, like life is too short. Um, Spend the time with the people you have and stuff like that. Because my biggest fear, not to put a damper or darkness on the podcast, my biggest fear is my parents passing away. Um, I couldn't imagine what my life would be like without either one of them. My dad's been probably like my biggest fan, like in a lot of what I do, especially with the wrestling. When I first started, he used to wake up on his days off to drive me across town. I was like a 15-year-old kid going to go train to wrestle, and he would go at 5 in the morning with me because practice was from like 6 a.m. to like 11 a.m. And we always watch wrestling together, and he still goes to my shows to this day. So like I couldn't imagine uh, what my life would be without him. And sometimes in a weird way, I wish or I hope that I actually pass away before they do, because I don't want to experience that emotional like feeling, if you know what I mean. So like, spending my dad's birthday, his 81st birthday, was like awesome in hindsight. So I made sure to just, have fun with him, even though in this situation with the way the pandemic's going, we just kind of kicked back and ate and just kind of like watched TV and stuff like that and just talked. And you know what I mean. That's all you really can do. So
Yeah.
appreciate you wishing him happy birthday though.
No. Yeah. I mean, no problem. It's like I said. It's one of those things that, I mean, it touches me too. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
something that, you know, I mean, gosh, when Peter told his story a couple of weeks ago, it was just like, yeah, I mean, take care of your,
Mhm.
and hold on to what you've got as long as you can, because it's, well,
Yeah, I remember one of the days of shooting. Actually, I think it was one of the carnival day or something of the movie. Peter
yeah,
told me that his dad passed away right before the shooting for the movie
yeah,
happened, and that caught me off guard because I didn't know. So
yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things. It's just like,
he said, Billy says, "Yikes!" Spoiler, but he's tweeted pictures of us at the carnival.
yeah.
What's up? That's my friend Mary in there. What's up, Mary?
Oh, hey, how's it going? Well, let's get into this. I mean, because this is one thing that I, hey, I don't know enough about your background as far as wrestling goes, but I'm really
Hmm.
curious about it. Um, like when did you start? I assume that you started in school, and then kind of after school, kind of like
Yeah.
just tell me
So
that whole thing.
so uh, Growing up, I would say probably it peaked the most when I was in middle school when I started to get an interest in pro wrestling because, the late 90s was like the whole WCW Nitro and WWF Monday Night Raw, and it was at its peak. Every kid at school was wearing NWO shirts, DX shirts, The Rock, going around crotch chopping, saying "suck it," and um, around that time, I was just like, man, that would be cool to wrestle one day, and blah blah blah. So it was always kind of like a childhood dream from that part. And in high school, I did do wrestling in school, but me and my friends also did backyard wrestling. Like we started a little backyard wrestling um, organization and had like pretend characters and it was fun at the time, but we also were hurting each other pretty bad, like throwing each other on the ground and stuff like that. But about 10th grade, ninth grade, 10th grade, Shawn Michaels actually was retired from WBF and he was running shows here locally called Texas Wrestling Alliance. And I used to go to them all the time. And he opened up a wrestling academy. And I remember his mom was like the ticket lady. And I would ask, like, hey, how do I sign up for the school? And she's like, I'm sorry, you're way too young. I was like 15. She's like, you got to be 18 because of liability and this and that. So I was just like, man, like I just remember always trying to get like even get my parents to be like, hey, we're okay with him signing up and things like that. But I had to wait. So in the meantime, we just did our backyard stuff. But then one day, I think it was like, I'm pretty sure it was New Year's Eve. I was or really close to it. I was watching the news, and there was a segment on the Fox News station here called Walton's Window, where this guy would just go and like look at cool, unique stuff in town, like restaurants or bars or clubs or sporting events. And he was in a wrestling ring, and he was getting like beat up and thrown around. And he's like, yeah, American Championship Wrestling in San Antonio, running at Texas Hideaway Flea Market. It's a local show, blah blah blah. They have a wrestling school. Call now. And I was like, wait, I didn't know there was any other local wrestling besides what Shawn Michaels was doing. Like, I didn't know there was like a local wrestling scene. And I called that number that night, and I was like, hi, I just want to know about the wrestling school. I'm 15. And they're like, no problem. You could sign up with your parent permission. And I was like, what? I was like, holy crap. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna sign up. I'm gonna do it. And literally like that weekend, he was like, okay, practice is at 6 a.m. and it's until 12. So I was like, okay. I remember I went across town, took my dad with me, and I had two of my friends from high school sign up too. And we did it, and it was cold as hell. It was outside, literally underneath like a pavilion of a flea market, and it was kind of interesting seeing the that side of it because it wasn't pretty. It wasn't like a fancy state of the art building that had like a weight room and you know nice benches and chairs. This was like a flea market that you would go and shop at. And the reason why we had to practice so early was because most of the guys that were training there worked at Luby's and they needed to go to work early in the morning. And also we had to have the ring torn down before the flea market opened. So we had to wait. We had to actually be there like earlier than 6 to set up the ring, get in the ring, train, tear it down, and get it done before. So every time we trained, we had to set up and tear down the ring, which was a lot of work. I don't know if anybody has seen how rings are put together, but essentially you start out with the frame. So you got like the 4 poles, then each side has like there's 4 sides. Then there's like a waffle grid of steel bars, like 3 go this way and then 3 go on. It was like a waffle grid. Then you put the boards across, and then on top of that you throw the padding. Then you use like elevator cables or chains and come-alongs to tighten. Basically, you make the poles go out like this. So when you tighten the ropes, it causes like a suspension. And as a kid, it was interesting seeing that. But man, was it pieces of that are heavy. To this day, some parts are just so heavy that I can't even lift it by myself. But I, quickly got thrown into the thick of things. The guys that I was training with at the time weren't really the best. They were, it essentially is what we call an outlaw promotion where people are just kind of like doing it without really being properly trained. Um, but it was still a pretty fun experience. I actually had a few times early on where I was kind of doubting myself to where, well, that's actually photos from about 10 years ago. That's when I actually got to my prime, I would say. But one thing that was frustrating for me was actually learning how to bump. Um, I was in decent shape because I was in sports. I was in football. I was in wrestling in school, so I had the cardio. I was 105 pounds when I first started, 5'6", so I was a small little kid. Um, but getting thrown around and bumping, I was always landing my head and on the back of my head because when you bump, you're gonna whiplash and you're gonna hit the back of your head. And that's one of the first things that you get taught to not do is to tuck your chin and hold it and kind of do like a weird like a backwards like kind of like limber yourself and kind of like tuck your chin at the same time. And I couldn't get that. It took me like a solid 2 weeks, and it reached a point to where I was seriously like saying, you know what, maybe this isn't for me. I think I'm gonna just kind of like give up because it's hurting. But we started to change things up. I remember one day it was just really bad weather, and we had to, for whatever reason, we just threw the wrestling mat in the middle of the guy's living room that was running the company. It was like a collegiate wrestling mat, and I was just landing on it, and I'm over here hitting my head and landing hard, and it's like on somebody's living room floor. So there's no bump, there's no bounce, there's no give. And finally, they were just like, here, the guy's wife was like, put this Beanie Baby underneath your jaw. And I held the Beanie Baby, and they're like, don't let it go. Just hold on to it and take the bump. And I was able to get it. So that whole day, I just kept doing it, holding the Beanie Baby in my chin, and I finally got the bump down. And then from there, I moved on and had my first wrestling match. This is back in 2001. So it was January 2001, and then March 3rd, 2001, I had my first match, which in hindsight, I wasn't ready for it. Wasn't properly trained, wasn't, familiar with any kind of like really solid basics, things like that. But my first match was like a minute and 42 seconds long. Very quick. I still have that on video somewhere, not online, no. But this picture that you're showing, that's from 2010, 2011, and that was a stable that I was a part of. That guy right there, the pale white chubby guy, that's Andy Dalton. He was my longest tag partner for a while. We used to be called the Hard Bodies at one point, where we do like a gym rat gimmick, but we're not in shape. So that was the fun of it. We're also ambiguously gay with the gimmick. So we're like, oh man, check out my glutes and check out, my pecs and this stuff. But he's really solid. He's wrestled for, he's been on Impact. He's been on Ring of Honor. He's been to Japan. He's done a lot of stuff in the indies and stuff like that. Then the female in blue, that's her name was Raina Pink, and she's another person that I tagged with a lot and stuff like that. She's even managed me at one point. But that was a stable that we called San Antonio's Most Unwanted, and we were just like a real heel obnoxious group. And I won the RCW championship for the first time around that time as well. So then that's when I reached my peak, because for the longest time I had trouble finding myself as far as being a character was. When I first started, I was so little and so young looking that they actually made me paint my face. I had like a Darth Maul gimmick actually, and I wish I would have given you a photo of that. I had like a Darth Maul gimmick. I wore like a black karate gi, black and red face paint, and I was just kind of like that. And then after that, I started wearing a mask because I was still young. And I would say it was probably until like 5 years into my wrestling tenure that I was able to like not look so young. But around this time, right before that, fans were just kind of booing me. I was always a face, and fans were just kind of like, get out of the ring, blah, blah, blah. For whatever reason, I was always getting booed. And it's funny because enough in like almost everything that I do, for whatever reason, sometimes people just don't like me. So I took advantage of it in the wrestling. I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna give people a reason to hate me. I'm gonna have a chip on my shoulder. I'm gonna get in shape. Right there, I
Oh,
was actually
I went
in
the wrong
decent
way.
shape. Huh?
I went the wrong way. Sorry.
Right around that era, I was actually in decent shape. I was going to the gym a lot. I was working out a lot. I was tanning. I'm way more tan right there. That's actually one of my wrestling students. Eventually, around that time, I started actually running a wrestling school of my own
Hmm.
in the area, and that's one of my students. Trained a few, and it's a pretty rewarding thing. I'm actually going to be doing another wrestling school here pretty soon in the San Antonio, Austin area, San Marcos. Outside of there, there's a small town called Lockhart. We're gonna be running a wrestling show and a wrestling school, but kind of jumping all over the place. We went from like 2001 to
Yeah.
2010 to 2020, but yeah. Anyways, pretty long-winded on that.
Let's see, I don't know why this is doing this. It's supposed to. It's
That's
supposed to
G and
be.
J at Santa Monica. We went to the pier. That was 2018, 2017. When I first went to SoCal Retro Gaming Expo. And I thought that was cool because we played a lot of GTA 5 and the piers in GTA 5. So we went in person and we did like a GTA 5 location tour. And we sent that to our friend Ross, who played with us a lot too. And we're
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Oh, see, there we go. I don't know why it's jumping these photos out of order, but did you
That's
see
fine.
did you see Billy in
Oh,
the
yeah.
chat?
I'll get to that. He's actually referencing a story I've told before.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That photo, that was probably 2 years ago. 2 years ago, maybe a year or two ago. Um, Obviously older there.
Well, see now at what point did Joey Spector come into the scene? I mean, did you was that an automatic thing, like when you first started, or did you kind of create that? all
No,
3
I
years
was
later?
when I had the painted face, I was called the Spectre, like the ghost. And I went to California one day to wrestle, and one of my mentors, his name is the Raging Bull Manny Fernandez, and he used to wrestle like in the NWA days when they used to do like the studio wrestling, and he actually won like the tag belts with Rick Rude at one time and Dusty Rhodes, and um, he's kind of they call him the Raging Bull for a reason. He's a pretty hot tempered Hispanic man that'll beat the crap out of somebody if they look at him sideways. And this was my first time meeting him. And he was like, "Hey, Joey, come here." He was just calling me Joey. Like, for whatever reason, he just kept calling me Joey. And I didn't correct him. I was always taught, don't correct anybody. That's especially if they're a ring vet. Just kind of keep quiet, listen. If you have questions, ask, but just don't kind of like talk back and stuff. Like, there's a real, I guess I would say, I wouldn't say militant style when it comes to being a young boy in wrestling, but you're going to be called everything but a son of God.
Hmm.
Um, when you're a green, when we call him green, we say that you're green, you're a green kid. And so he was just like, "Hey, Joey, come here. Hey, Joey, Joey, the whole night." And I actually didn't correct him on that for probably like a year or two. I just let him. So then I was like, you know what? I'll call myself Joey Spectre instead. I'll actually have a name instead of called the Spectre or just Spectre. So I was like, all right, I'll call myself Joey Spectre. And then from there, it was just kind of a work in progress from different gimmicks. I had like a King gimmick. I had the Hard Bodies gimmick. I had you know, an '80s gimmick. And then about the time in 2010, um, one of the guys that helps put the promotion together. We always kind of butted heads and clashed. He's a booker. Um, for whatever reason, I guess I was just a young kid, and he was a vet that was just kind of tough love and stuff like
Oh.
respond to me, booing me and me kind of getting that heel heat where there was something there. I was having solid matches. He's like, you know what, man, I may not like you personally, but I could see that there's some potential here. I could see that there's money. So we're gonna probably put the belt on you soon. So I was like, holy crap. So I started working out. Like, I used to go, instead of taking lunch at my job, I worked in the office at the time. I would go next door. There was a Planet Fitness, and I would just go and work out the full hour at work. And then as soon as work finished, I would fucking go back to the gym and work out some more. So like I would either do the weightlifting at lunch and then the cardio after work, or cardio at lunch and the weightlifting after that. And then I would also tan. I was like, I'm gonna get in shape. I'm gonna be the champ. And then like 9 months go by, and I'm like, man, like I didn't want to ask anything, but I still continued getting that heat, getting that heel persona. Just I started having a chip on my shoulder, like for real. Like, oh, people have been doubting me because of my size, my appearance. People always come at me with bullshit. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of, just not being, where I think I should be. And I just started taking it to the mic. I started, half shooting on the mic, which is kind of like a shoot is where you're kind of being real and stuff like that. And then finally, just I got the belt out of nowhere, and I got put into a program with a wrestler, a female wrestler actually. Her name was Alyssa Flash. She was on Impact and a few other companies. Cheerleader Melissa was also her other name. And we did a series, and I was basing my stuff off of like Andy Kaufman. I was like this big chauvinistic pig heel, and then I started picking on women wrestling. I was like, women belong in the kitchen. They belong pregnant, barefoot, cooking me, a steak, blah blah blah. And this girl is actually kind of like, I wouldn't say jacked, but she had a good look, good arms, good abs. And we got into a program where for summer we had like 3 or 4 matches, and the first match was like a loser wears a dress, and I lost. But before that, I made 2 girls my maids. Like I wrestled 2 girls, and I was like, if I win, y'all be my maids. So it's kind of like like a chauvinistic pig. I had servants and stuff like that. So then she beat me. I was in a dress for a while. Then we had a second match where she actually won. That was around that era right there. I was actually in a lot better shape than I am now. We had a second match. She actually won the title, but then like 3 days later on Monday, we did this online segment where it was revealed that it went over the time limit when she was pinning me. So I got to retain the belt. The time limit for the match it was like a 15-minute time limit. So they had to hand me the title back on the video, and it drew so much heat that all these like legitimate wrestling websites actually covered this. Like first it was big that she won the belt because it was like one of the first instances that in indie wrestling that a woman won a promotion's main men's title. So it became pretty big. And then that Monday we took it back. We called it Black Monday, and I got so much heat. I had people writing me, calling me a piece of crap, and that it was politics and wrestling that were holding the female down, and it got some big heat. Like man, I should have given you a photo about that. That's one of my other students right there too, by the way. 2 of them actually, the referee and the guy I'm choking right there. 2 of my students. And that's also my wrestling ring. That ring right there is my wrestling ring.
Wow.
But so it set up a third match. It set up like a rubber match, and this match was like a Falls Count Anywhere match that we beat the crap out of each other. She grabbed me like in a wheelbarrow position and swung me into like the chairs. She suplexed me into the chairs. We went out. I was against a wall. She threw like a steel chair at my head. We went out to the ring trailer, like that flatbed trailer, like what we had the car on for the movie.
Right.
And I suplexed her on it. We went to the flatbed of a truck, and we went through like a table. I like the first match, we had a couple hundred people there for it. By the third match, I think we had close to like 500, 600 people to watch our match. It was a very good series. It was awesome. She was a phenomenal, like professional. We beat the crap out of each other. We were like veterans of war with each other. Like it was a very high level of respect. The matches are available on a website called Click Wrestle, but you gotta like pay, like rent them. But they were for the number. I think they still are to this day one of the highest viewed videos on that website. But it was about that era is where I stepped it up, and then from there, just kind of, I've probably been a heel most of my career, probably at least the last 10 years, at least probably like 80% of it.
Right. Hey, real quick, I wanted to say hey to Albert in chat. Hey, Albert.
Yeah, we also have Roger Waters, Albert,
Yep.
Iron Buddha,
Yeah, and he just
uh,
followed as well. Iron Buddha did, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
East Kentucky Retro. That's Roger. He's in there too. It's good to see people popping in.
Yeah. Um. So this was something that again, I like to do a little bit of research, right? And I was watching one of the interview that you did with Jim, and one of the things that you said kind of surprised me, and I wanted to ask you about it. It was in regards to the wrestling, that there were so many different promotions here in Texas. Like,
Yeah.
how do you navigate that? Like, how do you figure out, okay, this is in this town, I'm going to do this one, and you know what I mean?
Well, it's interesting because there is a lot. Even I've had friends go, "This ain't WBE. Why is there so much politics and cliques and people getting upset?" It's like that. It's like that in every level of pro wrestling.
Hmm.
So there's like a Houston clique. There's a Dallas Fort Worth clique. There's a San Antonio clique. There's an Austin clique, and those guys stick with each other unless you're one of their boys and stuff like that. But at one point, I wrestled for every company that was in Texas, with the exception of like one in El Paso, and this was like from like 2002 to like 2005. And at one point, I was wrestling like maybe anywhere from like 3 to 5 times a week.
Wow.
One of the shows I did was on Wednesday nights here in town. Another one was like every other Thursday. Then I had one on every Friday, and sometimes a Friday Saturday double shot. And then Saturday I would always have something. It would either be me wrestling at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in San Antonio, and then me and two of my friends would get in the car and drive to Corpus to wrestle that night. But we were constantly wrestling, or Houston. At one point, I was dating a girl that was a wrestler in the like 2002 to like 2005. So she would get booked everywhere. Girls are easy to get booked. If you're a pretty girl, you can get on a show anywhere. But back then, there wasn't that many girl wrestlers. Back then in the state of Texas, there's probably like 8 girl wrestlers, and I wrestled them all at one point. I wrestled every girl in the state. And I would just go with her. Like, she'd be like, "Hey, come with me to the show." I would take my gear bag. Sometimes I would get on. Sometimes I would wrestle for free. Sometimes, I would just get like an extra spot. But yeah, like now today in San Antonio, there's at least like 4 promotions. Austin probably has about 4. Houston probably has like 4. Dallas Fort Worth has 4. At my peak though, when I was wrestling like every 3-4 times a day, I was wrestling in Denton, Texas, every week for a company called XCW, and that was off of Fort Worth Drive in Denton, next to University of North Texas. They had their own building that was a bar that's converted into like an arena, and they had a show on Mav TV back on the day, which is a show that channel that's owned by Mark Cuban. But they did more of like a TV style wrestling show where it was strict time limits, including your entrance. They'd be like, "Okay, you guys got 8 minutes. That includes both your entrances, and the finish is this. You got to finish on this side of the ring." Like, TV style wrestling is different. You got to have your times. You got to have your cues. They got to be like, "Okay, the finish is going to be a diamond cutter, but it needs to be out of this back corner because the camera's going to switch over and show this guy coming from the ring entrance at the same time." So it's almost like blocking almost. But you got to remember that after wrestling for like 10 minutes, you got to remember your cue. And then if you have a promo, you got to remember what they wanted you to fucking say and stuff like that. What's up, Alpha? Alpha Megasin in the chat.
Yeah.
So when you learn how to wrestle on TV, you can wrestle anywhere. Me, in my opinion, I like the old school type of, we call it spot show wrestling, where it's just old school gaga comedy, smoke and mirrors. Take your time. You won't have to worry about time limits or certain placements. But like, if you're watching WBE now, you'll see I'm kind of breaking what they call kayfabe in this. But there's a basic style of that's when I met Ric Flair in 2008. He got his NWA Hall of Fame induction ceremony in my wrestling ring. Actually, I rented the ring out for that show, and he got inducted to the NWA Hall of Fame.
That's cool.
And he was leaving at that time. He was leaving, and he was heading out the door. He was saying bye to a whole bunch of people. and I was just like, "Ah, you know, it seems like he wants to be in a hurry. Should I stop him and ask for, because in the business, you're not allowed to be what's called a mark, which is a fan. You're not allowed to be like, oh, this is a WWF guy. Let me take a photo with him. Oh, this guy's, I'm marking out, because you cross that curtain. You cross the
Right.
curtain to where you're no longer a fan. And I was like, man, that's my favorite wrestler of all time. This is like in 2008. And I was like, dude, I don't even know how much longer he's going to be alive. It's 2020, he's still alive. But back then, I was just like, dude, I gotta ask for a photo. This is my favorite wrestler of all time. He's a legend. You know, that's Nature
Yeah.
Boy Ric Flair. And I caught him right when he was pushing like the exit door. I was like, sir, may I have a photo? And he goes, yes, you may. And no problem. He took the photo of me, and I was just like, damn. Like, I'm so glad I got that picture, because I probably would have,
Oh
I
yeah.
would have regretted it if I
Yeah.
never did.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, again, it's like I'd only heard just bits and pieces of kind of like your background, but then one of the things that you said about well on the movie was that you know you used a lot of that kind of, I guess, attention to detail. It's almost like there's a there's a I don't know. It's like, it's number one, it's a grind. I know that. I can see that. You know, especially in just the God. I mean, all the times that you wrestled like in the middle of the work week. I can't even imagine
Mm.
me trying to try to do something
Yeah,
like that. But that
yeah,
kind of, you know, like be professional. Do your, you know, be
yeah.
on your spot. Be all that stuff. I mean, it's kind of interesting to hear.
Well, and it helped me out a lot as far as being on the movie. It was, I don't want to say it was easy to memorize my lines, but it helped out a lot. Now, I generally don't use a script when I talk in wrestling. I'll get like bullet points. Like the promo will be like, okay, the next show is this date. It's gonna be here. You're gonna be wrestling this guy, and you know this is what we're gonna lead up. Kind of hint around at this, and I'll be able to like freestyle it.
Yeah.
But sometimes I've done script like with TV style wrestling. Sometimes we had to do scripts and stuff like that. But another big part that helped out was with the idea of blocking and getting a feel of where I should be. Because in wrestling, they always want you to face the camera. Like if you guys watch WWE tonight, um, anytime you see somebody in the ring, they're facing what's called the hard cam, which is the stationary camera that's across from the ring. It's like the view where you can see the whole, like whatever they're facing at. And then hard cam always faces the crowd behind. And then there's the roaming cam, which is usually like on WWE, they have two guys. They'll have a guy that's on the apron holding the camera that walks just on one side of the ring, and then they'll have another guy that's on the ground. And if you watch closely, you never see the other camera. Like the camera never shows the other camera.
Hmm.
You don't even know that there's guys on the floor carrying like moving the cables around, running and crawling after the camera guys to make sure they don't get tangled and stuff. You don't see that there's guys with speakers, like when people do promos, they jump out like they're literally like ninjas, like crouching around the ring. You'll see them once in a while when you'll see like a match go to the outside, but there's a whole bunch of guys, like a crew, and the wrestlers have to realize where those guys are too. By the way, when they get thrown out of the ring, you only have like a certain area where you're allowed to dive. You only have a certain area where you're allowed to face. If you have a camera, I mean, if you have a microphone, you have to know where the camera's at. And it's called, when you wrestle, you're taught sell for the cheap seats. So like if I get hit, I'm not just gonna be like you know like just small like that, because you got to remember there's people that bought the cheapest ticket possible that are like way at the top of that arena that are paying to see action. So you got to remember when you get hit, you know, move your head back and wiggle your arms a little bit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or emphasize when you're punching somebody. You know what I mean? So with acting, that kind of is part of why I was like, okay, I was trying like I wasn't trying to be too cheesy, but you have to kind of, you know what I mean? You got to be able to adjust and show everything from facial expressions. You know, in wrestling, when you get hit, you know, I look for somebody in the crowd and I kind of make eye contact. Like if there's a kid there booing me, I'm gonna score with him the whole match. But when I take a big bump, I'm gonna turn around and be like, ah, and face the kid so he can see that I'm in pain. And then when I cheap shot, I'm gonna look at the kid and be like, yeah, that's right. It's the only form of entertainment in sport that you can actually interact with anybody in that point. You know, somebody
Right.
takes my arm and I go, don't break it. And then the face is like,
Mhm.
break it. And then the crowd's like, break it. And I hear for the kid in the audience, it says, break it. And I look and I go, no, no, shh, don't break it.
Mhm.
No, please don't look at the kid. No. And then I see another kid and I'm like, no, quiet, 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 looking at everybody. Boom, he breaks it. And then I turn, I'm go, shut up, don't say that again. You know what I mean? And um easy stuff like that, you know, and it helps develop it. But like the first few days of on set, I was kind of like a stickler for because I didn't know what we were going on. But I was like, Jay, you had the script for like 9 months, dude. How did you not memorize any? I was so like, I wasn't trying to get heated, but it was me being used to a detail
Right.
step by step. You know, I'd never been on a movie as well, and I could tell I was kind of getting on the nerves of some people, but it was just like, you know what I mean? I knew Billy was under stress, so I wanted us to be on our points. Um, I knew like everybody was on stress, and I was just like, come on, you know, I'm used to that. Hey, you know, being like a coach mentality, like, hey,
Yep.
you need to do this, you need to do that. We should be here, guys. We got 15 minutes, because in wrestling, they literally tell you, okay, here's the card, your third match, and every once in a while, it's your responsibility to go see when your cue is. You could be like, okay, I'm third match, it's second match right now. We got 10 minutes to be at the curtain, which is called gorilla position, because Gorilla Monsoon used to be the guy behind the curtain. So that's why they
Mm.
call it gorilla position, because he would give people, he'd be like, all right, second match, you got 5 minutes. All right, playing the first theme song, second match. All right, where you guys at? Where the hell are y'all? So I was like, you know, I was going in that. I was trying to go in that mentality of, hey, you know, we got to be here, we got to be here, and that's part of what Christine's job on set was. She
Yeah.
kind of was like the gorilla position person. She was like as soon as we got there, guys eat, get mic'd up, be right here,
She's like
and
the
that's kind of
herder. Yeah.
yeah.
She
And
herded us.
that's what gorilla position is,
Right.
and a lot of the wrestling shows that I help put together, I'm that guy. I'm the guy that goes around. You guys got your finish? If you don't, go talk to, you know, Hernandez. He'll go over the cues with you. Blah blah blah. You guys got this. You guys got that. You have your title belt. Do you have your gimmick? I need you here. You need to be here. This is, you know, there's a lot of production to doing even the smallest rinky dink show, organization and stuff like that. And the first few days I didn't know what was going, but I just know leading up to it, Billy was highly stressed, and I know I was stressed because I was rooming with Jay and OK Chief, who, you know, Chief's excuse was he didn't read the script. He literally was thrown in there. Jay's, I was like, you wrote this, you helped write this, you had it for 9 months. You know what I mean? And I was just like, oh my god. And then so then at night I would be like, hey guys, let's circle around, let's do the reads, let's read it. And then eventually everybody started being like, hey, let's read this, let's go through it. You know what I mean? And it smoothed over and it worked itself out beautifully. But yeah, the wrestling definitely helped out with me at least being on point with you know, like small things, like when you know, one scene, if somebody, like, not anything in particular, but if somebody grabs me and, you know, I do the look at the camera, because I was always taught look at the camera no matter what. You'll see in wrestling, guys look at the camera, or they find the camera, and, you know, even if it's the photo camera, you find it, you're choking the guy, you look at him, you look at the hard cam, you look at him, you know what I mean? You sell,
Right.
you always show your face, never show your back. And it helped out a lot with that. And I will say that. And I think honestly that's why a lot of wrestlers do okay when they go into movies.
Yeah.
Like you know, like The Rock, Piper. People forget Piper was a freaking great actor. Jesse Ventura, he was good. You know, he was in Predator.
Oh yeah.
Um, you know,
And
and
Running Man.
yeah, yeah. And, you know, so it was definitely an interesting experience with that, and using
Yeah.
the wrestling and things like that. And it was something I actually bonded over with a couple of people on set too. Rudy in particular. Um, you know, he bonded me over with the wrestling stuff a lot.
Heck yeah. And just real quick, I wanna say thank you to Marama Sakai for following, and then Jim and Falcro both hosted. So thank you very
Nice.
much.
What's up, Falcro?
So
Piper was in They Live.
oh
Dude,
yeah.
They Live is awesome.
Oh yeah. That's a great one. But yeah, so yeah, let's get into this. I want to know about the kind of the collecting and the game chasing and things that
So
you kind of.
that's Retropalooza 1 actually. That
Yeah.
was when the event was just winding down, and I think we were on the stage at one point just having fun, and I think Jay was auctioning off raffles or something like that. And yeah, look how young Jay looks there.
I know.
Jay looks really young there. Billy too.
Yeah.
I look Asian for some reason. And then Alpha, that was us plus Norm. Norm was there somewhere, but he wasn't on stage. We were the guest at Retropalooza 1. And after that, we went
Man.
to Putt Putt Mini Golf. Or, yeah, we went to like Alley Cats by Jay's house or whatever. There's like an arcade and like a batting cage right next to Jay's.
Hmm.
We all went there. And then we went to Billy's apartment at the time and partied. And like 20 of us fell asleep in his living room of his apartment. And that was good memories.
Well, yeah. So with collecting though, like this is one of those things where I'm not going to ask what's your favorite game or whatever, anything like that, because I feel like that's one of those things that everybody gets asked. But for me, what's interesting to me from a collecting standpoint is, what was your first goal? Like, was it a system? I want to complete this system.
So, with gaming, it's kind of weird because growing up, when a new system came out, a lot of us just finished with the old ones. Like Super Nintendo came out, I was like, I don't need the NES anymore. I got rid of it.
Right.
I sold everything, got rid of it, had the Super Nintendo. Then, for whatever reason, when the 64 came out, my parents were like, give the Super Nintendo to your little sister.
Right.
I was like, okay, I'll give it to her. Didn't think anything of it anymore. And then N64 I was in middle school. Like, that era was middle school. When the GameCube was about to come out and the PS2, I was going into high school, and that's when I started having a job. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start buying my own systems. And I kept the 64 for whatever reason, kept everything I had with it. My sister still had the Super Nintendo, but I never touched the older systems again. I got a GameCube. I was only a one console guy a generation because I was a high school kid, and I was a Nintendo fan. And then from then on, I was just strictly a Nintendo guy for the longest time. And when the Wii came out, that's when retro games started to kind of come back in style. Because back then, you used to see the NES games and stuff at the pawn shop like nothing. Like I would always see an NES controller at the thrift shop or the pawn store. And Virtual Console came out, and you start playing those, and you're like, man, I remember I used to have this game, and this ain't on Virtual Console. I kind of wish I had my NES again so I can play that game. And retro started coming back in style in the early mid 2000s, and about 2009, that's when I went on eBay and just bought an NES and a whole bunch of games. And I was able to get like 40 games for like $40 at one point, which was like a good price because these were like Mike Tyson and Gremlins and stuff like that. And then of course, with the advent of YouTube, I'd watch people like AVGN and Gaming Historian were like two of the earliest people I remember seeing because the YouTube app was on the Wii. So I discovered those guys through the YouTube app. And then it was like, oh, man, that would be cool to have a YouTube channel one day. But I don't have the equipment for it and blah, blah, blah. So I always pushed that on the side. But I would always start getting like the NES stuff and all like that. And then finally when I was like, okay, you know what, I'll do crappy videos on YouTube. For whatever reason, me and Billy found each other in comment sections. Like he commented one of my videos. It was like my 200 subscriber celebration or whatever, 200 subs. He's like, I'm the 200 sub. What do I win? And we just started talking. I saw his channel. He didn't do Game Chasers yet, but he did like silly skits and stuff. And then he was like, hey, we're going to come to town. We're going to look for games because they just started Game Chasers around that time. I was like, yeah, sure. And we met up, went game hunting, and rest is history. And that's actually from, I think, a road trip to Con Bravo or Too Many Games. One of those, 2013. Yeah, actually, that was going to, we're passing through the Game Room Trading Post in that photo, I think.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
now, as far as oh, that was a Con Bravo trip. That was in Canada. As far as collecting goes, at first I was like, oh, I'm gonna get a complete NES collection. And fast forward to 2020, there's no way that's gonna happen,
Right.
especially with the prices that some of these games go for. So honestly, I don't really game hunt or look for games as much anymore for retro. Occasionally, I'll wait for Retropalooza or Too Many Games or a convention, because now it's like flipped. Back in the day, conventions was where people were like, "Oh, the prices are way too high there. Go to the flea market, go to garage sales." And now it's like you go to the flea market, these people are selling faded games for eBay prices or more. The retail stores are charging an arm and a leg for crappy, silent service and things like that. And garage sales, everybody wants to get rich too, because we're seeing all these videos on YouTube of people saying this NES game is extremely rare and is a hidden gem, and then, get it now, and prices go up. So now I hate driving around. I hate hunting and not finding stuff. So I'd rather just wait until a convention where I know there's going to be games.
Right.
I know they're going to
Right.
be here. I know more than anything, this guy is going to have this really rare game that I want, and he's going to work a deal with me when the retail store or eBay is not. So
Right.
I don't even put up with the game hunt. Now I'll collect like modern stuff. I'll go to GameStop and be like, "Yo, this current gen and last gen, I'll buy all of them." Because like the other day they had 5 games for $20. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pre-owned.
Yeah.
Load up on the PS4 and the Xbox One stuff while you still can. And so that's what I do. But never in my dreams. I have so much more games in the back than I ever had as a kid. And it's funny because I have like 630 NES games. As a kid, I probably had like 12. So like, I
Yeah.
got all my games back that I had as a kid, and then some. And I don't know. Alpha, appreciate that compliment, man. Best part of
I've-
most Game Chasers episodes, in my opinion. It's got a lot of the best mode. Thank you. Battletoads Double Dragon mode. Billy, I know he's watching this. That was a scumbag move. I gotta say. That was a scumbag move. But I got the game anyway, like that year when we went to Con Bravo. So it's all right.
So at what point, like, did you, like, I guess you went out with those guys, right? And then is that when you kind of got the bug and you said, okay, you know what? I need to do this
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. From that point, it went to a T, because I was already slowly doing it, slowly looking at like, video game stores. I would go once a week at the end of the work week, like on a Friday, because one of the Game Over video games locations was like the next intersection down from my job at the time. And I would go, and their prices were decent at the time. They weren't $10 for a common game. But I would go and, pick out a game every Friday. I would go buy a new game once a week. And then I would go to like this other store I discovered, pick out a game once a week. And once I got around them and started hanging out with other people in the circle, it became a bug. It was like, oh man. And it wasn't like a competition. It was more like, it was a hobby that you can get in with people,
Yeah.
And it became like where I was going on eBay. I got out of the eBay stuff. At the time, I was buying in bulk. I was like, I'm going to buy this Atari 2600 with 32 games. I'm going to buy this Famicom with like 16 games. I'm going to buy this with 20. And it was like, I was just like buying in bulk and in whatever duplicate. And that's kind of a good recommendation, I would say. Buy in bulk, and whatever duplicates you find, you sell those, you'll make your money back, and it'll pay for the game that you wanted. Even if you get 1 or 2 games out of that lot, you know what I mean? It's paying back. So
Right.
it's kind of like, I got into that habit, selling whatever duplicates I was finding to buy the stuff I wanted. So it definitely did do a big itch. And then with the YouTube, that also made me want to pursue the YouTube a lot more serious, especially because I was starting to get subscribers from being in those early episodes, which was amazing. I remember actually when they came down 2 weekends in a row. One of those weekends was Gamester81 giving them a shout out, and Happy Console Gamer giving them a shout out. So they were starting to get like their first 1,000 subs in and stuff like that. It was such an awesome feeling. And then I'm like, oh, I got 200 subscribers, and
Right.
we're all getting subs from it, and I was like, dude, I'm just gonna make my own content on top of that, and it got me off my butt, and I bought like a cheap camera and was using it and stuff, and it was a different time and a place because it wasn't as easy to make videos back then, like technology wasn't like this wouldn't be that easy to do in 2010.
Oh yeah.
And like your cell phones didn't have the great camera and stuff like that, but it definitely fed a beast. And then you meet other people like like OK Chief, who collects toys, and then this guy who does this, and then you're constantly looking at stuff, and I don't know, it definitely gave me a bug.
Do you collect a lot of toys too, or you just?
Nah, not anymore, because it's like I don't have too much space for them. I have all the toys I had as a kid still, but they're
Right.
they're like in the attic. But like games and then arcade one ups, those freaking ate up my room too.
Bet.
Uh, you know,
Yeah, those
stuff
were. I think that's my biggest problem with collecting is that once you get into a certain section of something,
uh,
it's gotten so huge now. Like, forget about. I mean, like, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. There's no
uh,
way I could collect all the Star Wars stuff I wanted. There's no way. I would
yeah,
never be finished. And I think that's where I get kind of like, I don't know. I totally get it though. I totally like. It's almost like I'm gonna section that part off. I'm not
yeah,
worried about that anymore.
yeah. Like there's people who collect video games complete in box. No way I'm gonna do that. I'm okay with having the a piece of plastic cart on the shelf. The thing with Star Wars though is eventually everything Star Wars becomes valuable, no matter
Right.
what it is.
Right.
Like I didn't grow up with the original Star Wars. My Star Wars hype started coming around when they released the '95 re-release,
Mm,
and then shortly after that was the special editions,
right.
and then they had like the Kenner Power of the Force line, and they had like the Shadows of the Empire, and that was my like childhood Star Wars right there. Was
Right.
the '95 re-release that was a big deal, I guess, because it was the like the 20th anniversary or something, or the 15th, and then it became like the '97 was the 20th, and then Shadows of the Empire was big, and I actually have a lot of those special edition era toys still, like, not opened, just because I was like, you know what? I got into a habit. If I buy a wrestling toy, if I buy a Star Wars toy, I'm not gonna open it. So I have like a lot of those Episode One toys still
I
unopened.
do
A
too.
lot of those '97 ones still. I have the talking chip thing.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm like,
Comtech. I remember
I'm like,
those.
okay, here's a Star Wars Pez dispenser. I'm not gonna touch it. Here's a Burger King toy from Star Wars. I'm not gonna touch it. Star Wars stuff is probably one of the few things I don't open. Like just um, this last time when they did those weird Star Wars things at McDonald's,
Hmm.
with the big heads and stuff. They had
Oh
like the
yeah.
3 pack, the Dark Side 3 pack. I have that unopened. You know what I mean? Just because I'm like, okay, it's Star Wars, and I'm not gonna sell any of that stuff. I don't sell anything. I don't know why I have to hoard. You know?
Yeah. I've gotten that way with because I got into the ultimate Lego, the ultimate Star Wars Lego sets. So like
Hmm.
like they just released the A Wing, and I'm really excited about putting that together. But I'm thinking about buying another just so I can have one to just because man, those things like quadruple in value after they get retired. So it's like, but then
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I've got way too much. I've got way too much. I've got way too much
Yeah.
stuff, and I'm not even like big into the game chasing as much, just
Mm,
because it's like I have no room now.
mm.
Like how I don't even know. I
Yeah.
don't even know
Well,
how I
like
would do it.
if you go over to Billy's, I'm like, man, he has a lot of stuff, and it's
I
cool.
know.
But man, dude, like, I couldn't have that much stuff. Like, well, he has a house. I only have this room that I have, so that's why I don't collect toys. Because I do see somebody's cool stuff. Like Chief has a cool collection. Billy has an amazing collection. And I'm
Man,
just like,
Scott's
man.
collection. Oh my
And I would
god.
go broke too. That's the other problem. Because when I dive into something, I dive in. Like the
I
arcade
know.
one up bug that I had. That arcade one up bug was expensive. One time I was collecting those Skylander toys, collecting amiibos, collecting you know, like anything. Like literally, if I find something and I get addicted to it, I just would ever get that huge itch to where I'm like, constantly just buying stuff for it. And that's why I try to stay away from comic book collecting. I try to stay away from action figures. I try to stay away from laser disc because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get laser disc for whatever reason, and I want to get VHS tapes, and I do have some VHS stuff, but it's all packed away.
Me too.
I want to start getting records again.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, I gotta steer clear from all of this.
That's funny you said that, because I was thinking about that seriously. I was pricing record players just the other day and going,
Yeah.
do I want to go down this road? Because I know it'll be a never ending. Oh my God.
And it's also because record players are like, they made brand new ones now. I remember back not even 10 years ago, it was so hard to get a working record player. And now they got like nice new ones that plug in and they work seamlessly. Like it's all coming back.
Yeah, and some of them, like the ones they were like, well, if you're serious about listening, then you need to buy this $3,000, and I'm like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll be happy just getting an old one.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no the only way I would just need one to be able to interface with my sound system in there. That's it.
Yeah.
It can be $150, I don't care. But it's not like I'm going to be able to tell the difference anyway. Like, oh my gosh, do you hear the treble on this song is just, yeah, okay. But one of the things that I wanted to ask you about with the movie, because we're going to get into the movie now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so your role was written with you in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And when did they make you aware that you weren't just going to be in the movie, but that you were going to be one of the main stars of the movie?
I would say it was easily like a year ahead, like a year before, at least minimum. I mean, I was there when somebody suggested they make a movie. Like it was a restaurant in Philadelphia, and they're like, yeah, you should do a Game Chasers movie. And at the time it was like a Game Chasers go to Japan idea that was floated. And then there was stupid ideas that we were just jokingly saying, like there's games on the moon and stuff like that. And then, just periodically I was told that I would be a part of it. Thankfully and gratefully, I was excited for that. I never thought I would ever be part of a feature length movie as opposed, as well as starring in it. And it was something that I always kind of wanted to dabble in, especially because I was living in Los Angeles a couple years ago, and some of my friends made movies, and I was in the background of a couple of them. But seeing the movie making experience was amazing, and I was prepared way more than some people on set were, more than like Jim and Chief. Going in, I knew I was going to be the comedy guy. I mean, I'm the comedy guy in the cartoons, comedy guy in real life. I knew I was going to be the comedy guy. So it was really easy for me to channel what I was going to do in the scenes and stuff.
Yeah, and
it came naturally.
And that's the thing that, I guess the thing that surprised me, and again, I learned bits and pieces about you here and there all along the way, you know what I mean? So it's not like I had a full picture of who everybody was. And I mean, I was more of an outsider than, most people, I think, is I was sort of reintroduced into the group, because I mean, I'd been friends with them for a long, long time, but I'd been sick. I hadn't been able to get out, even get out of the house, so it was weird for me there. And then from the crew point of view too, it's like, I didn't know what I was doing. I looked up on YouTube what to do, and hopefully I did what I was supposed to do, and most of them were very happy with what I did. I'm like, God, I hope so. But yeah, your attention to detail and your professionalism was one of the things that was kind of like, it was almost like when there was a scene with, let's say, the main four guys, right? It's like, well, I don't have to worry about Eric not knowing his thing. Mm-hmm. The only issue that I was more concerned with when we were, kind of, those first few read-throughs, like right before a scene or whatever, would be if there were a lot of changes and I didn't want it to screw you up, because that's what happens is, just like a waterfall. But I was super impressed with that.
I'm honestly surprised it didn't screw you up much either, because we were changing like we weren't effectively changing the scenes, but like we were changing lines to a point where I was worried that it would confuse you and Rudy because y'all were constantly looking at the script, following along, and we would change our dialogue enough to where, or take out some dialogue, but the scene was still pretty much intact to what it was supposed to be.
Right.
But I was more worried, like, oh man, I hope we're not screwing everybody else up.
Well, and that was the thing that I guess was so tough was that, like you said, the words themselves were changed, but as long like my whole thing was okay, whatever the point of this scene is, it needs to stay intact.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the meaning for this scene. And then I was starting to the toughest part, honestly, was the, you know, because we had to film everything out of order. It was like, okay, right before this was this.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to remember what if y'all changed something or said something back then.
Yeah.
Will it match up now? That was
Yeah.
the toughest part.
And that was a big part of the reason why I wanted to keep it simple with my wardrobe. Is I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just wear one thing the whole movie: yellow shirt, long sleeves, and a beanie, and you're not gonna have to worry about anything. But then, of course, there were scenes after certain part where we had to remember, oh, this happened, so I
Yeah.
had to have, this. And I'm like, okay, but even then, there was parts where they're like, oh, well, we don't see that, so you're okay wearing, the jeans. But for the most part, me and Chief wanted to keep it simple. I think
Right.
Jay eventually wanted to keep it simple too, because I think originally he wanted to have like different shirts and stuff like that. And he's like, okay, I see your point, Eric, because I was we had many powwows leading up.
Yeah.
Not just me and Jay and Chief, but like me, Jay, Chief, and Allie, and me, Jay, Chief, and Dave. And I was just like, guys, we just got to keep it simple, man. Because there's a catchphrase that I learned in wrestling called KISS, keep it simple, stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, we just got to keep it simple, man. Nobody's going to give a crap if you're wearing the same thing the whole movie. And it's going to make it easy. We're responsible for our own wardrobe. Are you going to be the one lugging, making Allie lug it around? Or are you going to lug it? Or, what's going on? Just keep it simple. The only thing I would do is take a change of clothes, because I learned quickly that if you're going to eat, do not do it in your wardrobe.
Right.
And that's interesting right there, that scene, because that's technically the first thing we shot
Yeah.
for the movie. Was at Retropalooza.
Yeah, that was it's on random, it's just going now. But yeah, that was because I knew where it happened in the script, but I was like, how is this all going to match up? And
And
it's
I'm
going to be
interested
fun.
to see. I'm interested to see how that scene actually looks, because it was different equipment
Yeah.
than what we shot. You know what I mean? Like that looks freaking amazing, right? Like all these shots.
Oh yeah.
But I'm interested to see how it pieces all together. And then technically, a fun little trivia that I was doing, I was telling people, well, I was the first scene shot unofficially, like before production officially started. And then I was the first thing that we shot when production started, because I was the first thing that morning on day one.
Yeah.
Which, going in, man, I felt like I was in the hot seat, because it was like, all right, guys,
Literally.
let's begin. They did the prep. They were like, hey guys, welcome to production. I'm Rudy. This is Larissa. This is Billy. This is so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. Here's our acting cast. Here's this guy. All right, so we're going to get blocking, and we're going to go. We're going to do this. We need Eric over here. And I'm like, oh, shit, what am I doing? Because going in, I honestly thought it was going to be like a YouTube video. Like,
Right.
there's going to be a camera guy, a sound guy, and Billy's going to be there, and we're just going to go over it. We're going to do the scenes, and it's going to be like a YouTube. And then we show up, and I see a whole bunch of people, and I'm like, oh my God, this is legit. Because we were kind of in the dark.
Oh yeah.
Going up to it. I was afraid that it was just going to be, like disorganized and this and that. But, came in. I tried to tell everybody else, like Jay and everybody was worried. I was like, hey guys, just don't worry about it. Let's just do it. Let's just go. And, we got into like little tuffles before production. Like, oh, you're not here. You're not under stress. You don't know what's going on. I'm like, dude, what can we do? Let's go. Let's have fun. Let's read the script. Let's do the best we can. Billy's under stress. Let's just make this easy for him. This is awesome. It's our first movie experience. Let's just have fun with it. And, I remember we walked in, and I was like, holy crap. There's like 40 people here. I do not know who the hell they are. I don't know what's going on.
I had no idea. Yeah, I had no idea.
And then it's like they mic me up. they send me to where I'm supposed to go, and I'm the first thing being shot. And there's a guy I don't know who eventually, the guy, big camera, not even 2 feet in front of me, is Peter. Then there's Allie, the Peter's Allie, not Allie,
Right.
makeup Allie. That I didn't know who she was. I didn't know who Rudy was. There's a big light shining in my eyes, and everybody's watching. Everybody that was on set day one was watching through that little monitor for that scene that I shot, and I was nervous. So I just was like, you know what? I'm gonna just pretend this is like I'm doing something for wrestling. I'm just gonna yuck it up and have fun with it. And then once I got past that, I think that was a good icebreaker scene too. The scene that we shot that day.
Oh yeah.
In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have eaten the thing off the ground, but I think it was a good icebreaker. It got everything broken up.
You
and
know,
then,
it was one of those things that it's kind of, I don't know who planned it. I don't know if it was intentional, but it was genius because it was one person to deal with.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It was the perfect icebreaker in my opinion. Get the guy with, you've got the cat or the scenes that we were doing that day. It made the most sense to get that out of the way first. But then it just, because
Billy
it was
says
you and all that stuff. I mean, it was almost like it was fated to be that way.
Billy said it wasn't intentional. The first thing to be shot. You know what? I think the car messing up that day made my scene be the first thing.
Yep.
The car messing up that day, and I was nervous. I was like,
right.
crap.
Oh, I forgot about that. I totally forgot.
Dude, and you know what? What an opening to a shoot when everybody's already stressed, everybody's already bickering lightly against each other, and the car that we need for the entire movie, day one. That's like being on the set of Exorcist type of stuff. Like, where it's like, is this a cursed movie? Is it cursed? And we got through it. It was a lot of fun, honestly.
I think that was the thing that I learned the most is that it's kind of like it's like anything. It's problem solving. It's problem solving on your feet. How fast can we do this? The best that we can do it. And then of course, the crew was just like insane. So I mean, we were in good hands, I think.
Yeah. And you know what?
There it is.
I was actually oh yeah, there it is. There's the first scene. I was actually really inspired because around that time on Netflix, there's a documentary called Raiders. And it's about a group of kids that are making a fan film version of Raiders of the Lost Ark. And they're dealing with stuff going wrong. And this is just a fan movie, like them doing it for fun. And they had to make it from when they were teenagers to adults. Like it's like a 15, 20-year production. And they go back and finish it. And I was kind of inspired by that. I was like, you know what? We're going to be doing stuff like this. Like I remember telling Jay, I was like, this is going to be us. We're going to have to figure out, adapt to the situation, and just go with it. And if things don't go right, just move. Because going back to wrestling, a lot of stuff changes like that. You're wrestling somebody, they break their leg in the middle of a match. They get knocked out. You have to change it on the fly. Somebody jumps the rail and tries to get in the ring. The power to the building goes out. The ring breaks. Somebody hits the ropes, they fly out. I've seen people fly out of the ring. So I was just like, oh man. So that's part of why I ate the thing and actually did it. I was just like, let's just have fun and give people something to talk about and just get through it. But it was a lot of fun.
It was so good. I mean, but it was hard. It was definitely hard. And I wanted to ask you, so was the rain on the ground, was that the worst day? The cold day? For you?
That was up there. The coldest day was up there. There was actually 2 cold days. I'd get them confused and mixed because there was 2 days where we were outdoors. Mm-hmm. And one of them I would say was probably the worst day for me because I was hungover.
Oh, okay, yeah. That was the really cold day. I remember.
I came in
because there's actually a shot of you. I'll just say sleeping. There's a shot of you sleeping at one point.
So like that night before we got kind of, like I don't drink often, but when I'm around Jay, for a reason, we encourage each other. And then Leon was there, and Leon was enjoying the drinking. Of course, Leon didn't have to go on set the next day.
Right.
But, you know, I woke up and I was still drunk, I think. I was still drunk. I came on set. I puked on the way to set. Came in, and I was just like, "Fuck! I don't know how I'm gonna do this." Then one of the guys, not Hunter, Mike, I want to say, he was one of like the PAs, one of the guys that was helping move like the car around and stuff like that.
I'm not
Mike,
sure.
I want to say Mike. He was like a guy with like a goatee. Um, he opened up like a supplement type of thing. I want to say it was like a pre-workout or something like that. He mixed it up, gave me it, and I swear to God, it was like spinach. As soon as I drank that cup, not even halfway through it, dude, did that, ate some breakfast, I was good to go. I was like, all right, let's go, let's make this movie. And that cold day, it sucked with the weather for sure. Definitely sucked. He was on set the next day, but you didn't have to really do anything that day. I think you were just chilling that day.
Oh, Leon. And then did you see that Gamer Tamer 360? That's my brother, and he said that car's in great condition. Whose car is that? That's a digital stand-in car.
I mean, the real car looks good too. Just,
yeah, but
the inside is shit.
I think the picture that he's referring to is
CGI,
yeah, it's Yoshi's model. So
yeah,
it's crazy.
Really crazy, man. We could literally CGI like JFK in the front seat of that car if we wanted to. Like, that's crazy how technology's come with movie making to where from your own computer desk, people could do that. Like, could you imagine like when they first made Star Wars, what they had to do? Like movie making, not even 20 years ago, how far movie making has come.
It's crazy.
Like, could you imagine how much more like movies like The Matrix would be? Like they made that in 99 with what they had. And that scene where he does like the back bend and stuff was so groundbreaking at the time. But now it's like you watch like the Avengers movies, the Marvel movies. Those guys are in a green room Leon was there for some of those movies like Maleficent and Justice League and stuff.
Yeah.
You're literally like he showed me a photo where he's covered like in a green chroma key like suit. You know what I mean? Like you could just do stuff like so much movie magic. And then now Billy's doing movie magic too, like I mentioned earlier, changing the background, the sky, and making it look like we're in Colorado. It's really impressive, like it's really, really impressive to see how far it can go. Even with shots like that from the movie, like, the set that we made, we weren't even in that building, but we made it look like you were, you know what I mean?
So, and that's the thing. It's a testament to, of course, Peter, because without his, and that's the thing that I don't know if you saw as much as I did, but it was one of the things that was blowing me away. It was just he was contorting his body in ways that it was like, I can't believe you're even doing that.
So
it was
in
crazy.
my opinion, so the cold day definitely did suck, but for me, the day that I was like, I'm over this, I just want to go to sleep, was the day that we went to the antique shop. That was a combo day. I think that was being at the haunted, scary place and then going to the shop. And when we were up there, I was just so tired, dude. I don't even think I ate that night. I think as soon as we got to the second location, I went on that dusty ass couch and just took a nap. I was getting splinters just moving on that floor. Splinters because we were crawling at the one part we were having to be on our butts. I was getting splinters from that. We were getting dust all over us. I was feeling like my allergies flare up. I was tired.
I don't know why. Yeah, I remember that. That was a rough one.
It just felt like we were dragging. Like everybody's just tired. We're just like.
And I remember.
You know what I mean?
I remember when I left the house that day, because it took me an hour to go back and forth to set, right?
Yeah.
So when I left, it was still sun out, and then on the way home, the sun was coming up, and it was just like, dude, that was the roughest I mean, that was a rough day, but it was the roughest drive for me. That one was the
Yeah.
worst.
Yeah. And
Ugh,
back to that night though, in particular, speaking of Peter contortioning and doing all that, we actually had to like hold like two of us behind him, like help push him and hold
mm-hmm.
because he was essentially doing crunches, like hanging crunches while he was like
Yeah.
filming like Billy's reaction, I think at one point,
Mm-hmm.
and he had to do that like what 4 or 5 times in a row. And then on top of that, the cold day, he was out there getting. I took a picture of him actually, where he's kind of like looking down, and he has like his gloves. Um, you know, phenomenal. Like him, Ali, and the other people that he had in his crew. I think Odette was helping him at one point.
Yeah.
Um, I think they were soldiers, man. They were out there braving the elements the whole entire shoot. Everybody else had the courtesy of going underneath a tent. Like you know,
Warming
once
up.
their jobs are done. But Peter was needed no matter what.
Oh
And
yeah.
it was very impressed with him, and he was a good, cool guy. That was actually the attic night right there.
Yep. Now,
And that,
what's it? So, got through the worst day. So, what's the best day? Because I know
man,
Billy has gotten on to me for not asking it for everybody.
the best day where I was like, man, this is legit. I'm having fun. Man, honestly, I would probably say I like the day that we did all car.
Mm.
I don't know why. Those 2 days that we did all car stuff, and then like the ending sequences and stuff. I like those. The inside doorway. I wasn't even in at. There was a few days where I wasn't even in the scenes. Like everything at
Yeah.
at Billy's grandpa's house, I wasn't in. The kids' day, I wasn't in. The night where they did the day where they did stuff, I wasn't in. With that they filmed the couch scene. But the roller skating days were pretty cool at the rink. The haunted house day, I gotta say, I liked aside from the train. Um,
Oh yeah.
the first half. Well, there was 2 days. There was wasn't there? There was the day where we did the
Yeah.
first half was there, and we filmed the outside,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was the other day where we actually filmed
That was
the epic scene.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I liked that day. The only problem with that place was I'm allergic to cats, so I was
Ah.
dying.
Oh,
I
I
was
bet.
dying in that place.
And you had to be on the floor a lot of the time too.
The floor actually was better
Really?
than being on a couch or being on a furniture or anything like that. Like the wooden floor,
Hmm.
it just I was able to breathe better.
That's. I would think it would have been the other way. Well, and I guess that makes sense
I
though.
actually had to switch shirts too because of all the pet dander.
Oh.
So like halfway through, I was like, okay, I'm gonna switch shirts. But that was probably my funnest day was when we were all indoors at that place.
Yeah, that was definitely fun, but yeah, that train, man, just constant. But now I
Now I
asked.
know you were
Oh
telling me earlier. I'm sorry to interrupt.
no, it's okay.
Speaking of the train, earlier you were telling me that you're doing sound cleanup and stuff.
Yeah,
Um, how easy do you think that train would be to clean up? Do you have any of it that you have to?
not so far, but I've gotten some airplanes. I've gotten some. There's been some of the outdoor stuff like there's you may remember you were I think you were still there or you might have been off doing something else, but it was the scene with Jim and Dave and Lance, the back of the house. You remember that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that scene was incredibly difficult because all the highway noise. Remember there was the
Oh.
highway right there.
Yeah, and
Uh,
that was the same night that we went to the second location, right?
Yep.
So I was at one point I was in that little side room sleeping, and eventually, first you're just like, okay, it'll be like a half hour, be like maybe an hour tops, and then I'm sitting there and I'm like, Jesus Christ, what in the world are they doing? Like I'm like, what's taking so long?
It was because there would be because I mean the stuff on the outside was or the I guess on the highway was bad enough, but then
Uh-huh.
you'd have the lights from the cars going by too, and that would
Yeah.
mess up the look of the scene. So we had to keep stopping and starting over,
Damn.
um but yeah, That was a rough one.
Yeah, I bet, because I remember they both came inside and they just
Mhm.
looked agitated.
Yeah,
Like
because usually
they
I
just
mean, and they kind of prided themselves on, hey, it's only
doing
the
it
two of
quick.
us. We could just bam, bam, bam. Yeah, not that night. That was a
Yeah,
tough one.
there's a few times where Dave and Jim would knock him out like that, and then some of the scenes where me and Chief would knock him out. And we're like, fuck, I guess that's it.
Yeah,
Like it was funny because there's days where we're still there for 12 hours, but I'm looking at the thing and I'm in scenes, but I don't have lines, or I'm not
right.
in the scenes, or I have one line or two lines, and I'm like, okay. I was like, done. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like the scene where me and Chief are sitting at the table.
yeah.
Like we ad libbed the whole crap out of that one because it was similar dialogue, but it was
It was
it was
good.
fun though. But I wasn't back to that part where Jim and Dave had the thing with Lance. Um, I slept for so long that I was like, screw it, I'm tired. I'm tired. Like I'm just gonna take advantage of this. Nobody's bothering me. Nobody's telling me to go anywhere. I'm gonna sit here on this couch and just sleep. I was like, I'm just gonna sleep
Yeah.
because I was exhausted by like the beginning of the third week. I was tired.
Well,
I was like, all I would do is eat and sleep
yeah,
and go to set.
and Billy said that there was only time for one setup. So anytime there was something that screwed up, you had to start all the way over. So it was definitely a frustrating
Yeah,
uh
they weren't doing like fucking
two
what's
shots
it?
and
Yeah,
coverage,
like
and
where
it's
I forgot what
basically a coverage.
coverage. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
basically that was it. That was the one
yeah.
shot. And then there was a couple times when and this is not easy, by any stretch, but there would be a time where you know, uh Peter had to rack that focus,
Uh huh.
and it would just be slightly off, and he goes, "Man, I can do it better." And then we're like, "All right, let's do it again," and of course, Jim and Dave were probably like, "Oh, come on."
Yeah, there was
But
a scene that I was in where that was a problem too. I don't remember what it was, but I remember he was like, "Oh, the focus was off. The focus
yeah,
was slight." Like it would go where he would focus, and they would go like a tiny bit past and get blurred again.
yep.
And I was just like, like there was a few of them, but I was okay with, like, you know what I mean. I was like, take all the time you guys want. I want this to look like where people were like, wow, you guys did this. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like that's what I
I
want.
was I was the same way, and that I just remember that night in the attic, that one was a rough one because there was some scenes that, like you said, just that slight out of focus, and it's like, crap, we got to do it
Yeah.
again.
And it was
So
dark too. It was dark in there, so it was screwing up with that. And then we had Chris had to adjust stuff,
yeah,
and then we had to figure out the solution with fire because there was that whole debacle where we got lectured at, which I thought we would have been okay because my grandparents used those same oil lamps in their house
yeah,
for decades. But what's up, Nerd Strategy? How's it going?
yeah. Welcome. Yeah, we're just talking through some of the movie here, and then there's. I think this is one of my favorite questions from that I got. The answer from Billy was really awesome. I'm gonna start asking everybody that's worked on the movie, what was the moment the aha moment where you went, oh my gosh, we might actually have a movie here. Like we might actually have this. We're not just getting the thing done. We're gonna make something awesome. Like what was there a moment like that for you?
Um, I think by day 3 I was pretty good with it. I was like, all right, we're gonna do this. Because the first 2 days I was just like, oh man, I don't know if we can do this. Because I mean the day that I think the moving day was like, it felt like they were doing Billy and Jay's scenes for like 8 hours. I'm just like, Jesus Christ! And then they rushed us to do our part with the car, and it felt like we were running out of we ran out of a time. You know what I mean? We essentially had to hurry. And then like the first day was okay, but it's still a little nerve wracking. But by the third day, I think that was when we went to the house, and that was when we were sitting on the couch,
Mm-hmm.
and um, I think I was really on Jay that day, like really. I was like, motherfucker, the ice cream's a prop. Quit eating it. Like he already had 3 bowls I was like, dude, we're gonna fucking run out of fucking. You're gonna run out of the prop. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
then he
that
didn't
was
know the lines. I was just like, that's when I was like, dude, you fucking don't know any of the lines. You're just clacking the fucking spoon. He was like clacking the spoon on the bowl, like clack, 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 clack. And we're in that hot ass room, and Chief wasn't fucking knowing his lines either, and I was just like, fuck, man. And you could tell Billy was fucking nervous as shit too, like stressed out. And I think once we got past that, I was like, okay, well, like we found our groove there because I think we broke the ice a little bit. We kind of hashed it out. There was moments where me and Jay would hash it out in front of everybody. Then me and Chief had that where we were cussing each other out, and Billy was still rolling, like they were rolling the film still. We hash it out, get it all out, and then we just throw the suggestions. And then I think even Billy flubbed a few lines that were pretty funny on that day too on the couch. He's like, "Oh, that's cute. This is what y'all doing. That's cute. That's cute." And we all just took like a moment. And once we got past that couch scene, and past like the scene where Billy and Jay and Jim and Dave are in the front, I was like, okay, we're good. We're doing good. Because that night, me and Chief and Jay had a good night reading lines and throwing stuff out there. I tried to tell Jay, don't be so robotic. And then that's when Jay kind of had his whole, yeah, I'm kind of a dick in this movie, ain't I? Like,
Yeah.
why am I calling people insults all the time? And why am I doing this? And then Chief's like, man, I need to just, I'm like, chief it up, dude. I was like, just be yourself. And from then on, it got a little bit easier.
Chief
I
it
know
up.
a couple times Billy would make sure he'd be like, hey, dude, make sure you're reading the lines with them. He was kind of, relying on me to help out. And we got into a routine after that. After that, it was like, okay, we're going to get home. We're going to grab something to eat. We're going to immediately jump into the read through. Because if we wait, we're going to end up
Yeah.
falling asleep or just not doing it. So then we would go to the read through, ask questions if we needed, and then work on it and then go to bed. It was a work in progress, but I think by the end of day 3, I was like, we got this, we got this. And I think there was a few other times, a few other days I was like, oh, this is just coming easy now. Like, I think like by some of those outdoor days that were in the night, it was just hanging out at that point. The only thing that sucked was that it was fucking cold. If it wasn't cold,
It was
I
brutal.
would have rather been sweating my ass off than being cold. That's me.
Well, see, that's for me, the worst day was that first cold day, with the cold snap where it just dropped like 30 degrees in like 20 minutes. That was the worst day because I just wasn't prepared. Every time after that, I had so many layers and of course, since I'm not in the movie, I could just put on more, if I was cold. So that was the
I made a
day.
habit of wearing long johns underneath my jeans, just completely thermals underneath. But it was nice, some of those outdoor nighttime ones, because we had a campfire. And to me,
Right.
I like being outside by the campfire, hanging out, drinking sodas or having a beer, chilling with the guys, joking around. Like, we started to become a little clique. It was at first, like, there was times where it was a little like we would all obviously be busting each other's chops a little too much. Like, we had our thing too.
Right.
But like, that was me just trying to kind of have fun and stuff like that, break the ice a little bit. But we were all at point stressed. But those nighttime outdoor ones, those outdoor nights, I think I enjoyed a lot. Like when we shot with Chris, when we did the the stuff with Jim,
Yeah.
when we did the car stuff, driving at night, those nighttime ones in the woods.
See, I'm really excited about the car stuff because remember I couldn't go along because there wasn't room. So I haven't
seen that footage.
I haven't seen any of it.
It's
seen
weird. It's weird because I've seen it. I looked at the playback, and it looks like we're really driving, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it's so fucking, it's crazy. And like when we were on there, we were literally going like not even 10 miles an hour when we were on the trailer. But watching the footage, it looks like we're going fast as shit.
That's awesome.
I don't know why.
It's awesome. Yeah, I'm really curious to see because I think that's the only thing that I wasn't. In fact, there was you remember there was a day. Well, you remember the commercial.
Yeah.
That I don't know if has made it out there to anybody
It
yet?
hasn't.
Okay.
It hasn't.
So there's the commercial that you guys were doing, and then there was something else being shot at the same time. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Kind of. Okay, so that's the day where at first they said, "No, Rob, you need to stay here. There's not enough people to drive up." I was like, "Okay." And then about halfway through it, they came and got me. So there's some of that I didn't get to see. And then
Yeah.
all of the car stuff I didn't get to see. But everything else, I was like, I have it in my head. I have all the, you know what I mean?
It's funny, the commercial stuff, because nobody's really told the story of what went down. But like, to me, I wasn't feeling it. I was like, really, we're gonna do this? This ain't even part of the official movie. It just felt like it was something that Scott and Renee really wanted to do. Like their own little side project. They really wanted to do it, and I'm over here like wishing you guys over there that were filming that other thing would hurry the hell up, so we can so I could do my scenes. I'm just like, man, y'all are taking forever. So then it became a point of, okay, we're here waiting anyway. Let's just do it. And then I was thinking, oh, my luck, we start getting into this commercial, and that's when everybody comes back.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's always when you're waiting on something and you decide to do something else that it happens. So we shot a few things, and we were just kind of like freestyling it, but Chief couldn't really freestyle it. We were throwing him bones. We were shooting stuff from the inside, and he was just kind of like, whatever. So then we were like, you know what? Me and Dave were like, let's sit here. We're gonna write a freaking script out of what we're gonna say, and I was like, and we're gonna just piece it. I was like, I don't care if it's a shot of me talking for 5 seconds and then a shot of Chief talking for 5 seconds. We'll piece it together. We're not gonna do it all in one take. And we managed to do it, and I liked it. I think it worked out. It did a lot better than I thought it would be, and I was a little bit more embarrassed. I was like, it's like I felt like we were doing our own thing on the side, and I was like, I hope nobody comes from the actual shoot and gives us crap about it.
No,
you know what I mean?
I think
like what are you guys doing? like you know what I mean? I was a little shy about it.
I wish I had a copy of it because I want to watch it. I can't wait to see it again. I only saw it like maybe twice, and it was like on somebody's phone over somebody's shoulder. You know what I mean? So I haven't really gotten to sit there but I thought it was, I'd love it. I just love it. And I'm so excited. Somebody was asking about the release window. There's a lot of things still up in the air. There's still some reshoots that have to happen, but and we're talking, small things, not huge things, but what you call B-roll type stuff, but it still needs to be done before the movie's finished. And then there's
every night I stream, I get people asking me, and I'm like, hey, it's gonna take time. It's gonna take time. Like, some people are like, you finished a year ago. I'm like, where are you getting that we shot a year ago? We finished Thanksgiving week of November. It's only been 6 months, and it takes time. Even without the pandemic being a thing, it still wouldn't be out right now.
There's because I know Billy had said that there was some shooting that he was planning to do in mid-March. That, of course, that's when everything got locked down here, and then we've just been, and especially with him, with his, with his family, I totally get, wanting to keep them safe by not, doing anything super crazy, and trying to just squeeze something in there. It's just not worth the risk. Mm-hmm. So, I totally get it, but
ultimately, if the situation doesn't get better, you can probably just work around it. Shots.
Yep. And there's definitely with my thing, I can't even, I have left the house 5 times, because
here in town, it hadn't been too bad. Honestly, it feels like it was business as usual this whole time. San Antonio must have a death wish. I've gone to Walmart once a week. I've eaten at Wendy's a few times, gone to H-E-B, gone to McDonald's, Burger King, gotten Chinese. But I've gone to like Walmart and Home Depot and H-E-B, and there's people with no mask on, people not wearing the mask right, people not
Right.
social distancing, and I'm like, oh, I like every time I go to Walmart, I get scared for my life. But I just miss
Yeah.
going to the movie. They reopened movie theaters here
Really?
2 weeks ago. Yeah, 2 weeks ago they opened some movie theaters. There's two chains in town. They opened them. They require two seats between every two people. So like you can sit in a group of two, but you need two seats to the left of you, two seats to the right of you, and they're only allowing 25% capacity in the movie theater like itself.
Wow.
Like each showing, they're only showing like two or three showings the whole day of each movie. And then one of them actually does drive-in style showings, so they'll have like a movie, like they'll do it in the back, like the wall of the back of the movie theater,
Right.
and charge per carload, and they're doing it like that.
Hmm.
Some restaurants you could dine in now over here. Haircut places, nail salons are open. I think bars are going to be open this weekend.
Yeah.
So it's kind
Well,
of
see, my thing is, I'm taking medication that, suppresses my immune system. So I'm like,
yeah. Well, yeah, with my dad, he's
geez,
81.
I know. I
But
know.
he goes for cruises all the time. He'll go sit underneath a tree at the cemetery of the army base and just chill. He's like, I've lived through so much already. I'm not scared of this. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
It's like-
Yeah. I had my brush with death. I don't really want
Yeah, oh
to
yeah.
mess with that. No. But yeah, guys, there's still some, I'm through all of my questions. Do you guys have any questions for Eric? Let's see. Let's see. Release window. Yeah. Um,
As in regards to the movie release, guys, I'd say just be patient, man.
yeah.
On top of everything, you got to remember Billy's essentially a one man band. Um, he's editing a new episode of I think Game Chasers or something, or Toy Chasers. He's editing something right now. On top of that, he's doing the Blu-ray that they just did the crowdfunding for, and on top of that, he's doing the movie. So he's under a lot of stress. He was under a huge amount. I never saw Billy stressed so much in my life as when the first week, or because I was there in October too. You mentioned I was
Yeah.
there in October,
Yeah.
and I spent almost all of October and all of November in Arlington at Jay's house. I think the only time I wasn't in Arlington was like 3 days that I came back to San Antonio real quick after Retropalooza. But like leading up to it, I could just tell he was under stress, and he's working hard to get this out. Doing a damn good job at it. The stuff I've seen, the crew is amazing. Everything's well put together. It's going to be well worth the wait. Even with the pandemic, it was not going to be out today. So
Yeah. Yeah.
just relax. I think he mentioned originally he said he wanted to try have it out by June, but obviously that's not going to happen because we still have the soundtrack of the movie. Martin's still doing the soundtrack.
Yeah.
You're still doing sound cleanup. I think Yoshi still has some stuff to do. Billy has stuff. I think Billy's phenomenal with that, making it look like Colorado and stuff. Like he's taking a lot of the work into his own ball too. And I think Joe from GameSack was supposed to help out with some stuff. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of hands still making the dinner, so to speak, to put it in a metaphor. I'm excited. I just want a trailer soon, but I
Yeah.
can wait for that too.
Well,
You know.
and that's the thing too, is that you think about some movies, they go into production,
Yeah.
for example, The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Right? They started filming that. They filmed that in 2014. Now, there's not as many effect shots in this movie as there was in The Force Awakens, but that was like 2014 is when they shot that, and it came out at the end of 2015. So there's all the sound cleanup.
No, I think you're off. It came out December 2014.
Wait, no, it was 15 because it
No.
was 15, 17, and 19.
I believe it was December 2014.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Well, whatever it was, it took a year and a
was
half.
Filmed, yeah, it was because I remember they did a teaser on their YouTube saying production has begun, and it showed them on the island and stuff like that, and they showed some magazine covered all those creatures.
Yeah.
That oh look, it's gonna have practical effects, and everybody's like, holy crap, and
Yeah.
it was a good solid moment. But even then, there's movies in the past that they shot like the new, for example, the new Valley Girl that just came out, the Valley Girl remake. They filmed those scenes in 2017, and it just
Yeah.
came out in 2020. And unfortunately, because of the pandemic, it didn't get a national, you know, release. Oh, 2015? I could have sworn
Mm.
Force Awakens was 2014.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, because it was 1 year. So it was 15 was Force Awakens, 16 was Rogue One. Is that right? That doesn't seem right.
Release date December 14th, 2015.
Huh.
Wow, am I in the Mandela effect? Because I swear to God, I saw it in 2014.
See, that's what I wanted to get to. I wanted to get to some of that stuff too, but
I swear to God, I'm in a Mandela effect because I swear it was 2014 because it was I always connected it with my last semester in college, but I guess I was a year off.
yeah, Falcro, that's awesome right there, because that's one of the things that again, I've known Billy a very, very long time. I probably don't know Billy as well as even like you or even some of the fans might know him better now than then. But that's one of the things that he's always prided himself on, is he wants to make something that people love. And when somebody says that, it's I mean, that's all I wanted. When I came on board, that was my goal. It's like, I don't care if I'm in it. I don't care if I'm behind the camera, in front of the camera. It doesn't matter. It's whatever I can do to help you do this. Because when I read that script, I was like, I know exactly what he's going for. This is gonna be awesome. So yeah, I think that's pretty awesome right there.
I remember seeing different versions of the script. Actually, like one of the scripts I read was completely different, like from almost every scene after the initial car scene. So it was really cool. I to see where it changed and stuff like that. Stuff was thrown out, stuff was cut in, stuff like that. And then even while we were shooting, stuff was changing. So it was definitely a fun experience. I personally never thought I would get to be in a movie, and I have the bug now. I've signed up for websites that do casting calls and stuff like that, and
you should. In fact, I mean, if anybody, the principal cast, right? I guess you could say that. Anybody that's not an official actor that wants to do it, this is going to be seen by a lot of people. So I think go for it.
I hope it goes on a streaming service eventually. I think.
Oh yeah.
That would be where I'm like, all right,
go watch my movie on Netflix or whatever. I don't care
if it goes to theaters limited or even has like, anything like that or anything like that. If I could turn on one of those streaming services and see it, even if it's Amazon or rental on YouTube, because you can do rentals on YouTube now, or on Netflix. Netflix would be awesome, but
see, for some reason, like, I guess my thinking is that the biggest one would be like buying the movie on iTunes and seeing that in the store would be, because I mean, Apple's,
iTunes, and,
Google Play, any of those.
YouTube rental or buy would be another big one too.
Yeah, but it's funny though. Nerd Strategy says any script writing techniques you guys learn. Like I'm studying how people write TV shows on my break. That's one of the things that I think really helped this work, is that, you had a definitely the script to go by, but you guys, because of, I mean, again, it's no secret, you guys never had any official acting classes, all that kind of stuff.
That's funny that you bring that up, because remember one of that office building that Billy and them were renting a little space in, we were all trying to set up us going to get acting lessons by somebody, and I think the lady it just didn't work out.
It was the money. And then
I think we set up a thing and we just never heard back from her.
And she flaked out or whatever.
Yeah. So going in, we were like, oh crap, let's just do our own script read. So we did some with you. We did one with the guy that was going to be Charlie at the time. We did like several of them. And then we did the big town hall one That one was
Hmm.
cool.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That was another moment. Like you said, there was like a aha moment. That right there was a little bit of like okay, we're doing this.
Yeah, see,
Like when I saw the cast and everybody there, I was like, okay, we're doing this. But then when I first met Rudy and he came and sat down with us, I was like, damn, he's just telling us we're in. Like I was like, fuck, he gave us some tough love
oh
that
yeah.
day. I felt like he fucking stole my lunch money and my girlfriend and
Yeah.
kissed my mom on the lips in front of me. I was like, dude, we're in over our heads. I was like, what are we gonna do? Like, I was so worried, and I was like, damn, I can't even imagine how Billy's feeling right now. I was stressed. I couldn't imagine how Billy was
Because
feeling.
you were, yeah, because I think I was in that same meeting with you, and they
Yeah,
had Larissa and Mo up on the screen, right?
on Skype. Yeah,
Yes, I was sitting there going, I don't belong here.
yeah. I thought I was
Don't
like
belong
totally
here.
out of my element. I was like, fuck, I'm gonna fuck this up. We're gonna screw this up. All of us are gonna fuck this over. We're gonna fuck this
Uh,
up. I
I
was
w-
so scared. Like he put the fear of Jesus in me in movie making
oh yeah,
on that meeting. But once we had the town hall where we had the kids there and yeah, see Billy where they're saying how
yes,
fucked we were. Yeah, see, and it's funny to see to like when people are asking about it and stuff like that right there, like I could just tell like the look on your face, look on Billy's face, the look on Jay's face, that we were all pale during that fucking meeting. We're like fuck, what are we gonna do?
well, and that's the thing. We just didn't.
But now it's funny.
Yeah. Oh, it's hilarious now. But yeah, at the time, we just didn't know. We didn't understand. We didn't
Yeah.
understand. You mean you've got to have somebody like a specific person that does this with the clacker thing? Like, why can't
Yeah.
you just have Fred over here?
Well, you gotta have a guy at the table next to the granola bars.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It's like, oh, you gotta have this. You gotta have this. Oh,
Ah,
what? What? Oh, what the fuck? Oh, you mean we can't have the location that we wanted to shoot the scene
right.
at? We gotta find a. So then I remember like me, Billy, and Jay got in the fucking car and almost immediately went location hunting
Yeah.
again for different shit. And that right there was scary. But then when we started to get the pieces together, and then I saw like the kids and the the actors, some of the nerds, and everybody sat at the city hall, and we had that read through with everybody there. I started to feel a lot better. But man, Rudy scared the living crap out of me the first time, and then it became like the phases of the four phases of like dealing with somebody. First you're scared, and then you're like, you know what, fuck that guy. That guy's a prick. And then it became a, you know what, he's right. And then like different phases.
See, I
Like
was for me the again. I mean, I told this story with Billy, but real quick, the thing that I guess turned like I felt like we turned a corner was
uh,
that day with the kids. And it was
yeah,
because I felt that if the kids didn't bring it, then it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough putting the movie together because those kids had to bring it. And that day I'm sitting there and it was actually the day that that April was there.
yeah.
And and you and Jay showed up cuz you guys didn't or Jay didn't have to be there till much later, I think. Or
Yeah,
maybe
and
he
I
didn't
was
have
I
to
was
be there.
no, Jay was off, or he
Oh
didn't
yeah.
have to be there either, but he showed up anyway,
Yeah.
and I came late. I took his car over there.
Yeah.
It was my day off, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna support the guys. I'm not gonna take a day off. In hindsight, I wish I did. I
Yeah.
wish I took the day
Oh
off,
yeah.
but I didn't want to take a day off. I was like, you know what? This is the first movie experience I'm doing. These are my friends. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna support. I'm gonna show up.
It was for me there was a bunch of scenes, since I read the script, I mean a lot. I was sitting there going, okay, I'm really worried about this one. I'm really worried about this one. And then, um the how do I say this? Okay, so it's Billy and Jay in the house. I was really worried about that one.
Mm-hmm.
Um really worried because I was just not because I didn't believe they could do it, but just
Yeah.
is it gonna work? And I'm
Yeah.
sitting there and I'm telling you, and I told Billy this afterward, but and I don't know if you were there for that. You might not have been there, but I was sitting there watching the monitor and I was kind of like this, like, oh, please let this work, And he said the word, I'm not going to say the word, but there's a word that he said that hit me. And it was like, oh my God, this is I
Mm.
was so excited. And it was like, dude, you nailed it. You nailed it. And I'm like, this is, oh. And then, of course, every day, because like I said, I've known Billy since 94, right? I've wanted him to succeed no matter what. So
Mm.
to see all the crew and the cast and everyone just, it felt like, and some of them, they were getting paid and it's part of their portfolio, but I wanted to hug every single person every day because
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys are bringing it. Ugh. It's just so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There was moments where I was like, all right, I'm
No,
guessing the word was chode.
no, it
Nah.
wasn't. That
Actually, I
wasn't
don't
it.
even think anybody says it in the movie. Wait, no, maybe. There's one time for sure I think I say it. I think it was one of the car days.
Oh, oh,
Yeah, I
right.
say
Yeah. See, I didn't see that, so I don't even know. But yeah, that meeting, God, that was a rough one. And I remember, it was so funny because it's one of the things. It was just Billy and I driving around, location scouting or whatever, and we would be goofing around, having a good time. He would get a phone call, and it would immediately turn into Serious Billy,
yeah.
and it was just like, and then I'd be like, he'd get off the phone, and I'd be like, so we're screwed, huh? All right, okay,
Yeah.
and it would just be like, it would just slowly ease in back into it. But man,
It's
that's
definitely a pretty good story leading up to it, man. Definitely is.
yeah, and I just hope that, I mean, there's gonna be people that don't like it, or whatever.
Yeah, of
I just
course. Yeah.
I just hope that
Fuck
there's,
them.
but right, but I hope that people appreciate the, and maybe they won't.
There was
But
a
man,
lot
there's
of
the
hustle
hope.
put into this. There was a lot of hustle put into it. I mean, I have a similar story. I remember one time me and Jay were at the mall. Jay could not decide on a pair of freaking pants for like a month. Like in October, he couldn't get his pants. November, he couldn't get his pants. It literally is like the night before that he finally picked out his fucking pair of pants to wear for the movie. And we were at the mall, and I guess Billy called and he's like, "Where y'all at?" And we're like, "Oh, we're at the mall." And Billy showed up, and I could just tell, man, he was like I don't want to say he looked like The Walking Dead, but he was like, you just tell he was fucking exhausted. You can tell he was just stressed. You can tell he was just like, I was just like, damn. And I just remember like when we were leaving, Billy's like, so what are you guys gonna do now? And I don't know if that was him wanting to like just unwind for a little bit and have like some bro time or whatever. But we're like, oh, we're just gonna go back to the house and get something to eat and go to sleep. And he's like, all right. But like I just remember seeing that look on his face, dude. So I can imagine how he felt. Just that like split second that he was just like, So he's definitely working harder than I've seen anybody on probably any movie. Like and it's hopefully this movie gets out word of mouth. Hopefully people beyond the circle see it.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
there
and
was a lot of effort put into it, a lot.
yeah,
You know.
and I think that's the because I'd definitely been watching the Game Chasers, from afar, right?
Yeah.
Just every now and then, hey, how you guys doing? Whatever. Not being involved or anything like that. But when I read this, I thought, okay, this isn't just something that the fans are gonna like. This is something that appeals to so many people. And I think
Hmm.
that's, I don't know. I think that's the beauty of that script is that it's written in a way that, you know what I mean? It's appealing. And
Yeah.
I think anybody that has a childhood, can relate to this story. And it's
Mhm.
just it's so good. So anyway, I'll quit going off on that. But I guess I mean, gosh, been going almost 2 hours now. I mean, have you got anything that you want to plug or anything like that? I mean, of course
Um.
they can find you on Twitter, but I mean YouTube.
Yeah, 8-Bit Eric. Just Google it. You'll find me on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitch. In all honesty, I just really appreciate everybody's support through this. Um, I went into the movie wanting to surprise people because I know a lot of people see me as the guy that caught slipping and just comedy fodder and all this. But I went in purposely thinking nobody's gonna watch this movie and say that I was the worst part. Like I went in like I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna kick ass with it, I'm gonna do the best I can, and I want to impress people. But at the same time, I hope all around you guys are impressed with the final product and with what everybody brought to the table and stuff, because this honestly, like, I hope if there is a behind the scenes featurette of it,
Oh yeah.
I don't think there's any way that it's going to do any justice for how much effort was put into this. It was awesome.
Yeah. And love. I mean, it's you can see it, and you can see it on screen. And yeah, and I just want to piggyback off of that and say thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for being a part of the movie and bringing what you brought to the movie, because I think that's, I mean, and that's the wonderful, I guess the kind of the cool thing about it is that now we all kind of have this shared experience, even the crew, and from Billy all the way to Odette, and I mean just everybody. We had
it's memories for sure.
Yeah, and it's like, it was like, to me it felt like band camp or something. It felt like we went on a band trip or something. Mm-hmm. That's what it felt like to me, and it was just so much fun. My only regret is that I feel like God, man, I was not well on some of those days, and I just wasn't very personable or happy, and I wished I could have had my energy level up a bit higher, because man, I really did. It's like, I love everybody now. I love everyone.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man, and I'm definitely never gonna forget the experiences. But yeah, I appreciate everybody that has contributed to the Indiegogo. If you haven't yet, there's still time. Hint.
Yeah. Yeah, get out there. Get out there.
But yeah, man, anytime you want to have me on, no worries. I'm always down.
All right, man. I appreciate it. And guys, again, thank you for the support. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for hanging out. And yeah, I guess we'll see you next time.